So a week after I get fired, I'm sitting in a deli with NWA and all their bodyguards, and Easy's writing on a little napkin, I want these the big risers here for my 2 go-go girls.
You took care of all that.
Took care of all of them.
And so this was literally meeting at a restaurant and having the...
Yeah.
You could play over 1,000 songs?
Well, again, I started at 9 years old. But yeah, I've been playing guitar nonstop my whole life. And when Easy got sick, right before he died, we had a lot of stuff going on. So when he died, a lot of stuff that was in the movie, was just out and out live.
You know what really happened.
I know pretty much everything. I mean, I was on tour with them, and I saw most of the contracts, but I knew what was going on.
In life, there's a blueprint for everything. There's no need to start over. Hear from industry leaders, those at the top of their fitness journey, and real estate gurus. They tell you exactly how they did it. All you have to do is listen, learn, and execute. This is The Blueprint with Brad Rice.
All right, guys, I'm super excited today to be sitting down with my man Gary Ballen, who I have known for a long, long time, and he's got a very interesting life. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about him, and then we'll get started. So Gary, he's been a performer and involved in the music industry since he got his first guitar when he was 9 years old. He's known as the human jukebox because he literally knows thousands of songs. I can attest to that personally. He was in the production and merchandising for groups like Air Supply, Lita Ford, Jeff Lorber, Richard Clayderman, and Erica Jane, including being the personal manager for a heavy metal band called Hurricane in the mid-'80s. He also worked with multi-platinum and Grammy-winning groups such as Bone Thugs and Harmony. And notably, Gary worked with his cousin, Jerry Heller, who, as a production manager for Eazy-E and NWA, and there's a lot to talk about there. Because he worked with Jerry and Ruthless Records, he was on 3 documentaries. But most recently, he's got a project called Rhythm and Hues, and we're going to get into that in our talk today. So welcome, Gary, man. You got a long bio there. I had to shorten.
Well, I'm an old guy. Probably older than almost anybody you know.
I don't know about that.
Except your mom.
Yeah, my mom. And, speaking about that, my dad passed away a couple of years ago. But,
Sorry.
man, you were kind enough to come and play for him and some friends at the end of COVID when he turned 90 at my house. And
right.
That was a really cool thing, and he really enjoyed that. It was probably one of the last real memories he had before dementia really set in. So, yeah. Look, let's bring it all the way back.
Okay.
I want to talk first about, how we met, but then maybe talk about how I didn't know some of these things when we were going to bring you aboard, but, Ohio, you were born in Ohio. So I want to talk about, I met you at Adam's Rib.
Right.
So this is in the San Fernando Valley on Ventura Boulevard. I used to go there with my buddies when we would kind of get started on the evening to go out. We wanted to go hang out at a cool place that had music. And this was a little corner bar of this restaurant that had dollar bills all over the walls, right?
Right.
And there you are playing the guitar in the corner. It's jam-packed. Just a real cool vibe place. And you gave me a T-shirt that has this on it. But the unique thing about you, Gary, is you're the human jukebox, right? You know thousands of songs, literally. Like you just throw a song in, I can play that, and you just start playing it. But you used to have this thing, and every now and then I think you probably still do, but where it was $1 to start and $1 to stop.
Well, it wasn't $1. It was money to start.
It was money,
stop.
but people
I
threw
prefer
dollars.
not dollars.
Yeah, I hear you.
I prefer
well,
5, 10. Now it's 20s.
Now it's 20s.
Yeah,
yeah, inflation. But at the time, that's kind of what it was, and people threw more at you. But it was kind of like you'd be singing a song, and somebody would like, "No, I want to hear something else," and they crunkle up their paper bills, throw them at you, and say, "Fuck that song."
FuckThatSong.com is my website.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So, it's one of them that leads to my GaryBallen.com. But
there you go.
Oh yeah, and I got a T-shirt now that says "Fuck That Song."
That's a T-shirt you gave me.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know where that came from. It started with just money to start, money to stop. Which was back in the day. With Adam's Rib, Pickwick's Pub, which I even started before Adam's Rib.
Yeah, I realized that afterward that you actually
Pickwick's
started
I started in the early 80s.
Yep.
and it went 25 years through 3 owners.
Long time.
Yeah, a long time, and a great place, and it's still a great place. But
didn't they have a fire there?
yeah,
though?
yeah, I was there the night before the fire. There was a fight, minor fight, with some patron threw a beer at the waitress, and one of our bouncers jumped on him, and it really wasn't a bad fight. But the guy said, "I'm going to come back and torch this place." Came back, threw a Molotov cocktail through the window right where I sing at about 3 a.m.
Wow.
And the next morning was April 1st. So I get a call from one of the bands.
You're kidding.
Hey, man, you're not going to believe it, but Pickwick's just burned down. I said, April Fools,
Yeah, right.
He said, no, I'm serious, So I drive down, and it's torched, and it was unbelievable. So
Yeah, that was sad. I actually remember that from the following week when I was going to be going there with my buddies, and they're like, no, it burned down. And, that was probably, I think I maybe went after it was, re-put together maybe once or twice.
yeah, I
but
think
that
that was
really
about 2006
that makes sense.
when it happened, and it was closed for a year.
Yeah.
And then they reopened. But when they reopened, when I played, there was one tiny TV way back in the corner. So it was all about the music.
Yep.
And I played there. Bobby Cowsill from the Cowsills played there. And even, what's his name? I can't even think of his name right now, but he's, who's the little guy?
Just the artist? Just a music artist?
Yeah, he's a big famous, he played there.
Because I mostly went to Adams.
Yeah, it'll come back to me. But so when they reopened, there was like 7 or 8 TVs. It was more of a sports bar.
Yep.
So
and that look, that's really what's become of most places.
Yeah.
And my wife
Bruno
and I really,
Mars.
Bruno Mars
Played at
interesting.
Pickwick's Pub. Yeah,
Didn't know that.
yeah. Very few people do.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Was he a regular?
Not as regular like I was a regular, but he played probably 4 or 5 times.
Huh.
Yeah, before he blew
Very
up.
very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, those were like these days. This is the 80s, the 90s. We always just sought out music, whatever it was. It was during the breakdancing days. It was during NWA and all the music.
Right.
Like everything was about the music. And I remembered there were only a handful of places that had live music. And so we would migrate to those places more than anywhere else. And Adam's Rib fell victim to a car ran in through the corner where you stood.
Yeah.
There's something about that, Gary.
Everywhere I stand is the first place that gets destroyed.
All right, can you sit back a little bit further, please?
Oh, yeah.
Let's be careful here.
Car's going to go through that window.
The window.
Yeah.
All right. So that was those were really cool days. But that was how I first met you, and we would come back time and time again. And always
Wouldn't we go out in the parking lot and smoke weed?
No, that was not us.
That wasn't you?
No.
Oh, okay. Just want to make sure that wasn't you.
We would watch you, Gary.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but yeah, those were cool times. But we didn't know each other personally.
No.
It wasn't until probably around 2011 or 12, maybe, when I realized you were playing out in the Ventura area.
Right.
Is that about?
Yeah, it's about right when I first moved out from Encino to Oxnard.
Yeah.
And I immediately got a gig at the Lookout Bar and Grill because the owner, Pat Millman, used to come hear me at Pickwick's when he was in college. So him and all of his fraternity boys would come in and see me. So he knew me well. And as soon as I realized that he owned the Lookout. But then again, I was playing at the Lookout even before that. Pat's the 3rd owner. I started to look out, I think, about 2008 or something. A guy named Gary Richards, who owned the White Hart in Woodland Hills,
right,
and Fox and Hounds. I used to play for him in L.A. Then he moved out and opened the Lookout, and I started playing for him. So,
yeah, and I didn't know that right away.
Yeah.
In fact, I think how I kind of relearned that you were playing in the area was my wife had a dance studio, and one of the owners, or one of the parents, owned Red Balls Pizza.
Oh, yeah.
And a buddy came in that we'd grown close because his daughters went to my wife's dance studio. The girls did.
Right.
And he said, there's this
That was
guy
Petra.
who plays who's
That was
really
Petra.
awesome. And
Yeah, Petra and Dave.
That's
Owned
right.
Rock and Roll Pizza. Yeah.
that's
Oh,
right.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so he goes, yeah, there's this guy who's, he can play anything. And I'm like, who are you talking about? And he said your name. I go, I know who Gary is. And that's how we kind of reconnected was back then. But, then we've been at the Lookout several times.
Sure.
And, it's just a fun time. So, yeah. So, Gary, you could play over 1,000 songs?
Well, again, I've never counted them, but again, I started at 9 years old, with like the basic Red River Valley, You Are My Sunshine, the stuff that you learn as a kid. And now I do You Are My Sunshine, but I throw in Boys in the Hood and Gangster Gangster as a medley.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, I take the old, add some of the new. But yeah, I've been playing guitar nonstop my whole life.
Yeah.
Even though all I wanted to do in life at a young age was play music and be in the music business. So, knock on wood, I've been able to do that. I never got rich at it, but I've been happy and playing, and I'm still doing it. I got a nice kind of wide following of people that know me and like me and still come and see me.
Yeah, very devoted following, literally.
Yes.
But yeah, so you originally grew up in Ohio?
Yes.
And then in 1978,
Correct.
moved out to LA to the San Fernando Valley.
Yeah.
So this is even pre-Valley Girl.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because that all happened in the early 80s.
Yeah, and it's funny you say Valley Girl because I moved out to run a rehearsal studio in Northridge called Big Ed Productions.
Okay.
And one of the groups that were rehearsing there was the Knack, with Sharona. And I had to kick Sharona out of the place because she locked herself in the bathroom with a big bag of cocaine and just wouldn't get out. So I had to knock the door down. So, Valley Girl, Sharona.
So, wait, I pause there for a second because, of course I know the song My Sharona.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that was somebody's name.
Oh, yeah, that was Doug Feiger's girlfriend.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, the lead singer, yeah.
Okay, well, of course. You're like, yeah, of course. That's
Right.
You didn't know that? Everybody knows that. Okay, that makes sense. So early on then in your career when you got out here, and probably these bands weren't big right then, but they grew into very well-known bands.
Well, even going back to Columbus, when I lived in Columbus, I was always playing, and I was kind of popular there too as a player and as a promoter. I promoted jazz groups, jazz club I had, and I had a sound system, and I did merchandising. So I kind of was doing all that in Columbus on a small level. And then when I got the opportunity to come to LA, now I'm like in the big time.
Got it.
And I moved to run a rehearsal studio for my friend Barry Kay, whose band got signed out of Ohio University, which was a college that we both went to.
Okay.
A national record deal with MCA. They were called Kid Brother. And the father, Big Ed, came out and leased a big room in an industrial center right on Parthenia and Tampa and Parthenia, right around El Torito.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
And so they wanted me to come and run the studio while they went on tour.
Wait, so you're saying it was by El Torito there?
Yeah, right down the street, Business Center Drive.
Yeah,
So
okay, I know exactly. Yeah,
right.
sure.
Yeah.
Didn't know that existed there.
Oh, yeah.
There's an industrial park right
Yeah,
behind
right.
there.
There was porno distribution going around
Well, that's
there, too. But
yeah,
that's a whole other
Northridge,
story.
Chatsworth. That's
right.
People don't know that today.
Yeah.
It's funny you bring that up. My son went to this kind of grand opening for what's his name? It'll come to me anyway. For a product line that they were doing for makeup and all that in Chatsworth, and I said, Chatsworth, interesting. I go, industrial area? Yeah, industrial area. I go, you know what that, Chatsworth is like well known for? Right. They have no idea.
Yeah.
That was the porn center of the world.
It was.
Yeah. So that's where.
Yeah, so I came out to run it, and, the first band I met was Chaka Khan and Rufus. And I was a huge fan,
Yeah.
And so I met them. I got to hang with them. They turned me on to sushi. I never had sushi before, and the lead guitar player, Tony Maiden, used one of my guitars for a gig they had at the Greek Theater.
Huh.
So I move out. The guy's using my guitar. I'm at backstage at the Greek Theater. So, all of a sudden, it's like blowing my mind.
Yeah.
And then my cousin, Jerry Heller, who was a big agent in the 60s and 70s, before NWA. Big.
Like who did he represent in the 60s and 70s?
It brought Elton John to the U.S. for his first gig at the Troubadour.
Wow.
Pink Floyd, Grassroots, Guess Who, Marvin Gaye,
Big names.
Creedence. Oh yeah, yeah. He was huge.
Yeah.
Way before the NWA thing. So he would help me find groups and stuff for our studio. So one of the guys he brought in was a guy named Corey Wells, who was one of the guys in Three Dog Night, one of the singers. And so I got to know Corey pretty well, and then one day he brought in the whole Three Dog Night band. They were like reuniting. So I'm sitting there mixing, Jeremiah Was a Bullfrog and One and all these songs with Three Dog Night. So it was, for me, it was incredible.
I bet. How old were you then, approximately?
Well, that was about 78, 79, 50, 60, 70, 52, 70, 26, 27.
Yeah, you were.
So I was still in my 20s.
Yeah, that must have been an incredible
Yeah,
experience.
it was.
So was that the reason you came out to LA?
That was
your cousin?
No, not my
Jerry?
cousin, because my friend Barry Kay, who I went to elementary school with, junior high with, high school with, and we were in bands together. So we knew each other really well. And his band got signed, so he needed someone to run the studio. And he knew I was kind of a big mocker in Columbus, and I owned a big sound system.
Got it.
So I played at a place called Rally in the Alley the day I left Columbus, over 5,000 people. I mean, it wasn't just me, a couple other groups, but jumped in a van, drove cross country, and, the rest was history for me.
Amazing. So I actually remembered the band Hurricane.
Yeah.
Didn't know until I was doing the research here that you managed them. How did that happen?
Pickwick's Pub.
Yeah.
It's a couple of the guys used to come into Pickwick's, and they knew I was in the management bit. I wasn't a personal manager, but I had 3 years as a production manager for Air Supply. I had 10 years of road experience. So I knew the road well, and they liked me. So one of the guys said, hey, you want to manage us? So I meet the guys, and I say, this is going to be my first band I manage. And the lead singer, Kelly Hansen, has been the lead singer of Foreigner now for the last 10 or 15 years. And the drummer, Jay Shellen, is a drummer for Yes now. So it's kind of amazing how, I knew them when they were, when I was paying their rent and all this kind of stuff. And
do you keep in touch?
I keep in touch with Jay. I also keep in touch with Robert Sarzo, who's the guitar player, who's still been playing. And he plays with, I think it's Billy Idol. He does a couple of things like that, but yeah.
These guys are still active.
Kelly, I haven't talked to in years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so going to like that period of time where you were working with your cousin and you were involved with NWA, Eazy-E, Ruthless Records, like that was a crazy time. The fact that they've done 3 documentaries and you were on all 3 of them about that, you were pretty heavily involved.
Yeah, it's funny how I segued from Hurricane to NWA. I was managing the group. We did 2 albums. One of the albums, I got 2 of my friends, Bob Ezrin and Mike Klink, to produce. Mike Klink just finished Guns N' Roses' first record.
Okay.
Bob Ezrin did Pink Floyd, The Wall, Kiss, Alice Cooper. So these are buddies of mine that did it really cheap. I got us a national tour. We're touring all over the U.S. We opened for Stryper, the Christian heavy metal band. They used to throw Bibles out in the crowd. Strange. And we opened for other people, but things were going really good. One of my friends was the road manager for Rod Stewart.
Okay.
And he basically stole the band away from me to go to Rod Stewart's managers, who, they promised him they'd open for Rod Stewart and stuff, which I knew wasn't going to happen.
They never did.
They were heavy metal.
Yeah.
Rod Stewart's like pop
Totally
rock,
different.
and
Yep.
it's 2 different animals. But so they jumped with them, and I was very disappointed. I wanted to kill him. So I called my cousin Jerry. I said, Jerry, man, they just fired me. And he said, fuck them, man. I need you to go on tour with NWA. We got a U.S. tour lined up. Why don't you just come out, be the production manager? I want you to meet with Easy and Dre and Yella and Ren and all these guys, and Easy will tell you what kind of stage he wants and all that.
Yep.
So that was it. So a week after I get fired, I'm sitting in a deli with NWA and all their bodyguards. and Easy's writing on a little napkin.
My advice for someone selling their home: number 1, do it yourself and save. Number 2, use HomePie.
HomePie makes it easy to buy or sell without an agent. I can list a home in minutes and start receiving offers right away from buyers.
When we discovered that we didn't have to lose $40,000 in agent commission just to upsize to a larger home, it was an obvious choice.
List your home for free at homepie.com. Keep your piece of the pie.
And Easy's writing on a little napkin, I want these big risers here for my 2 go-go girls. I want chain link fence here. I want the turntables on these garbage cans, So I basically had the whole stage built and the sound and the lights, and
You
went
took
on
care
tour.
of all that.
Took care of all of it.
And so this was literally meeting at a restaurant and having the...
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really incredible. So how long did that last for? How long were you with Jerry? And
It started in '89. And when I was managing Hurricane, Jerry used to come to my house with cassettes of Straight Outta Compton, Fuck the Police. I mean, all the
These
shit
are like
that they did.
demos you're talking about.
Yeah, demos, yeah. And he'd play this stuff. I'd say, man, what are you talking about? You can't say fuck the police. You're not going to be able to tour anyway. I'm saying what everybody else told him. He said, no, man, you don't understand. This is going to change the world. These guys are like the Rolling Stones of rap.
Yep.
And I saw the whole thing happen. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. But I watched the whole thing happen. So it went from '89, when I got involved, till Easy died in '95. After tour, I worked at Ruthless Records, as kind of Jerry's. I was like the assistant general manager.
Okay.
And so whatever Easy needed, I basically did. I had to
made it happen.
Yeah, I didn't do the studio stuff though, but almost all the other stuff, I was involved in. Actually, Jerry got fired before I did. I was the last one to get fired after, Tamika came in, after it fell apart and after he died, basically.
Which he was
95.
75?
95.
He was 95, and this was in 2000.
No, he died in 95.
No, I'm sorry.
Oh.
He died in 95, but how old was he?
I think he was like 32 or 33.
No, I'm sorry. I was talking about your cousin,
my
Jerry.
cousin
Jerry was
Jerry.
75, wasn't he?
Yeah, Jerry was 75. I think he
It's
died
2000
in 2006.
That was probably pretty impactful for you then when Jerry passed away.
Yeah, it was very sad. He was suing Universal, Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, and Tamika Woods for the movie. They made him. There was a lot of lies in there, a lot of things that were lies. Plus, they took things out of his book, without his permission. So he had a real good lawsuit going. It was $116 million. And the judge threw some of the stuff out, but left a lot of it in.
Yeah.
So they were getting ready to depose Dr. Dre and Ice Cube, and he was pretty confident that they would settle at that point because they didn't want to tell the truth, on what really happened, about stealing.
You
and all
know
this
what
stuff.
really happened.
I know pretty much everything. Well, not everything, but I mean, I was on tour with him, and I was his assistant. I saw most of the contracts. I mean, I wasn't involved in negotiations or things, but I knew what was going on.
Yeah, because I saw the movie.
Yeah.
And they did make Jerry look out like he ripped them off.
Yeah, and,
right?
and they made Easy look weak too, which was horrible.
Yeah, and that was not the case.
That was not the case at all. And Easy wasn't broke when they, all that stuff about him being broke.
Yeah.
That was crazy. I mean, we had Bone Thugs and Harmony rolling. He had an override with everything Dre made at Death Row, which was, Snoop, Eminem.
Yep, a lot.
We had a lot of stuff going on when he got sick.
Yeah. When Jerry got sick?
No, when Easy got sick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when Easy got sick, right before he died,
Got it.
we had a lot of stuff going on. So when he died, a lot of stuff that was in the movie, was just out and out lies.
So, so the lawsuit was happening in what year? Like,
Well,
was that,
it was 2016. It was going on, because he died in 2016.
and then that was the end of the lawsuit.
Pretty much the end of the lawsuit because, again, the family, they didn't want to pursue it.
Yeah.
Very costly, and that was kind of the end of it.
Got it.
Unfortunately.
What was the
But
name of the movie again?
Straight Outta Compton.
Okay, and that was in like 2014-ish.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it really took a toll on his health.
Yeah.
It really took a toll
Stressed
on
him
his
out.
health, and stressed him out to the max. And I was doing a gig that night, and I got a call from Terry Heller's nephew saying, "Hey man, Jerry's in the hospital," and so I rushed over there, and by the end of the night he was gone. So it was very
terrible.
sad.
Yeah.
He was he was probably the biggest influences on me my whole life.
I bet.
Because me, even as a teenager, I'm playing House of the Rising Sun and all these songs, and he was representing the groups that I'm playing.
Yeah.
And like in 1969, I was a senior in high school, going into my senior year, and I came out and stayed with him, and he took me to the Whiskey A Go Go, and he sat me next to Eric Burden and Hilton Valentine from the Animals.
Yeah.
And I'm watching the Flying Burrito Brothers. So that right there in '69, I knew was going to change my life, and I knew that I was going to end up in California one way or the other.
Yeah, that makes sense. Look, you never left, right? You never went back to Ohio.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
For reunions, I go back every now and then, but even the thought of moving back.
Yeah, that's
never.
a no-go.
Yeah.
When you originally moved out, though, you had a brother?
Well, I still have a brother. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And because I had read that you were extremely excited because you and your brother wound up being extras on Logan's Run.
Ooh, I got more goosebumps. I got goosebumps.
Right?
It's funny because Jerry Heller's mother, Hilda, my aunt, worked at the unemployment office.
Right.
So she told, we were on vacation, again, from Ohio. We weren't living here.
Okay.
And she said, "Hey, there's this movie. You want to be an extra in this movie?" We said, "Yeah, of course." So me and Mike and another friend of mine, Dennis Bernhard, we go and it's Logan's Run. It's the scene where it's like in a big round coliseum, and we're all dressed in see-through green things, and these people are coming up to the top and like burning up, and pretty much all the women are topless. So
You loved it.
and they paid us for it too. We would have paid them to just be there.
That's amazing. Most people don't remember Logan's Run. I happen to have grown up in the era where I watched that all the time on TV with my brother.
Yeah, really?
And so I remember it vividly. There was a TV show about it that, it was kind of like these guys were, the future.
The future, right? It was,
And it had weird, it kind of was a weird show. So it wasn't something most people watched, but I got hooked on it as a kid. We were latchkey kids. We'd come home and
See, I never knew it was a TV show.
Oh yeah, there was a TV show.
I mean, I don't even know if that came out to Ohio.
Oh, that's interesting. So you got to look that up then.
Yeah, because I only knew it as the movie.
Yeah, so I'll try and look it up too because I haven't seen. I'm sure there's always on YouTube something, right? That you can find
always.
it. But it definitely was a TV show.
Another cool thing about my brother Mike is when I left Big Ed Productions to go on tour with Air Supply.
Okay.
1980, he came and took my place and started working with the Jacksons. So we got a great picture of Michael Jackson and Michael Ballen together.
Wow.
And when they were working on one of their tours.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So let's change gears for a second because you're working on a project now called Rhythm and Hues.
Rhythm and
Hues, and you have a business partner with it.
Yes.
Tell us about that because this is a big project you're working on. Are you a tech investor looking to shape the future of real estate? HomePie is the #1 for sale by owner marketplace, and we are revolutionizing the way homes are bought and sold. I'd love to hear from you. Just email invest@homepie.com and let's chat. Now back to the show.
Yes.
Tell us about that because this is a big project you're working on.
This is kind of the greatest thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
And my partner is Helene Freeman. Helene Freeman I met in 1989 when I was production manager with NWA.
Okay.
She worked at Priority Records, head of the art department, and she did the album cover for Straight Outta Compton. She did the album cover for Easy Does It.
Wow.
Yeah, she did a bunch of our stuff. On top of that, she did the California Raisins album cover. She did over 100 album covers.
Yeah.
And then after that, she went and worked like 10 years with Disney. She did all the Hannah Montana artwork.
Okay.
All these other shows for Disney. Very, very, very talented woman. And about 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, I lead this ukulele group in Ventura.
Yep.
At the Harbor Cove Cafe every Saturday morning. I've been doing this for 6 years.
Yeah.
We're called the Cool Hand Ukes. And
I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, and now it's like we get 50 to 60 people out there every week. It's pretty great.
It is pretty amazing. You got really cool pictures of that on
Yeah.
your website.
Oh yeah. And we do all classic rock too. You know, we don't do these, you know, Hawaiian like.
Yeah.
We do you know, Stairway to Heaven. We do Bohemian Rhapsody. We do Rolling Stones. We do Eagles stuff. But
If anybody's in the Channel Islands area or can get there within, an hour drive or something, it's a pretty cool experience. I recommend Saturday mornings.
every
isn't it?
Saturday morning at 10 o'clock.
Just head out there and you'll see this big group of people on the lawn.
On the lawn.
Playing ukulele, or it's ukulele.
Yeah.
Ukulele, right?
I call it ukulele. I mean,
okay.
I'm not that authentic.
But I guess that's what they call it.
Yeah,
and, But it's
yeah.
a really cool thing. So,
Yeah.
and it's right next to the Lookout Bar and Grill.
No.
No?
It's about 4 or 5 miles north of the Lookout.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
Well, it's in the general vicinity.
It's in the Ventura Harbor, and the Lookout's in the Channel Island Harbor.
Got it.
But, we have boats to the right of us, ocean to the left of us. There's always kids and dogs and people eating. It's the Harbor Cove Cafe.
Got it.
So, so I'm out there playing, and there's these painters. They call it plein air painters, where they come out with their easels and stuff, and they're painting. So Helene was in this group of painters, and we're playing James Brown, I Feel Good. I mean, among other things. And she's noticing, boy, these are cool songs for ukuleles and stuff. So then, in the same book is the bumper sticker song, which is a song I wrote.
Yes.
And I, used to play it at Pickwick's all the time.
All the time.
And when she heard this, somebody mentioned my name, and she said, "Oh my God, there's Gary Ballen." And so she, after I'm done, she runs over and hugs me, and so we kind of reconnected there.
So cool.
I was married to Mary Lou at the time. And I said, "Are you still doing, your art stuff?" She said, "Well, of course she was." I said, "Can you do my flyers and my cards?" So I immediately hired her to do all my, marketing stuff, which I was doing myself, and I'm lame at it. But so she did these amazing flyers and these amazing business cards and everything. So I also got her. She said she started playing a cajon, which is a little Brazilian box you sit on and you play percussion.
Okay.
So I said, "Oh, why don't you bring your cajon over and play?" She never did anything musical, but she played piano.
So she's got cojones.
Yeah, she got good cojones. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, big cojones.
So-
And so we got to be friendly again. And then when me and Mary Lou were getting married, Mary Lou was dying of cancer.
Yeah.
She had it.
God rest her soul.
Yeah, she had it for 27 years. But 2020 and 2021, it was the end.
Yeah.
And she wanted to get married before she died because she was Catholic.
Yep.
And she didn't want to go to hell.
Yeah.
I
And by the way, met her numerous times. One of the sweetest, most gracious, most welcome people. Like just such a wonderful lady. And not to divert too much, but in that period of time when she was very ill, you guys were doing so much for people that were locked down on COVID.
Yeah.
Because you were doing Facebook Lives. And for those of us that remember, because a lot of us were engaged in that sort of thing, we would just message you, and it was almost like start a song.
Yeah,
stop
I
a
would
song,
take a
fuck
request.
that song, and then we'd Venmo you money to start a new song. It was
Yes,
really
yeah,
clever.
yeah.
And so, I would listen and that sort of thing. I'd be working out in my gym at home, and I'd listen to you guys. I'd tune in and, request songs, and she managed that side of it while you were playing.
Yeah,
It was great.
she was amazing.
Yeah.
And I met her through Brad Bachman. Brad Bachman
from Galpin Ford.
Galpin Ford, yeah.
Huh.
Brad and his wife Tina used to come hear me sing at the Lookout.
Oh, okay.
Back in maybe 2012 or something like that.
Wow.
And after a couple, they'd come every week because they had a boat there and a house there, and they had a house in Hawaii, and they had a house in here and a house here,
Right.
But he'd always be t-shirt, shorts.
Yep.
Just looking all regular.
Yeah.
Well, they are regular, kind of.
They're great people. The Bachmans are great people. I grew up down the street from Bert. My dad knew him from some things, and I bought cars through Galpin forever, and I was friends with Terry Miller. But they were great people. And Brad, I met a couple of times at the Carriage Cafe. And that sort of thing. But great people. Lots of money.
Lots of money.
Yeah.
So he came up to me one week and said, "Hey, man, I really like what you're doing, Oh, I was doing Wipeout.
Okay.
Where everybody pounds on the tables.
Yep.
So they dug all this stuff. So he came up, he said, "Hey, man, I really like what you're doing, I don't know if I want to take lessons with you or just hang out with you." So I said, man, let's just hang out. So we kind of got to know each other, and I had no idea, who he was or what he did. Or anything. So eventually, I asked him, so what do you do for a living? He said, "I sell cars." I said, "Oh, really? Where?" He said, "Galpin." "Oh, man, I know Galpin. I've rented cars." I said, "So what? What do you do there?" "I own it." Well, my family owns it. My family. And he was running. He kind of was running it at the time for his dad.
Yep.
So we got to be really good friends. Every Tuesday night, I would go to his house. I was living in Woodland Hills. He was living in Chatsworth.
Yep.
And I'd drive over to his house, and we would jam and drink and eat and smoke and just have a great time. And we did that for years, and it just got to be bigger and bigger. And then his mom, or Tina's mom, was in the Philippines, and she came. They brought her to the U.S. They wanted me to help her learn how to drive here.
Okay.
So I was giving her driving lessons. And the last thing either of us were ever thinking about was, hooking up, yeah. And we were completely opposite. I mean, she was Catholic and very proper.
Yep.
And I'm basically
and quiet.
quiet.
Although not really quiet, but quiet.
I mean, comparatively speaking, yeah. And she ran an insurance company in the Philippines. She had, probably 30 or 40 employees under her. Very smart. And I was basically an atheist, lunatic, doing what I do.
Is.
Yeah. But we really, from just driving together and listening to music together, we got to really like each other as friends. We were best friends. And then, best friends turned into, we fell in love. And then we lived together. And, then when it was getting towards the end, we had a great wedding. She wanted to have a psychedelic wedding. So every tablecloth with tie-dye. Yeah. And the name of every table was like Jimi Hendrix, Cream, Beatles. I mean, it was great. And I had a bunch of my friend musicians came. And so
that's really cool. I didn't know that's how you met, was through the Bachmans.
Yeah,
that's really crazy.
Right. And then Bert, I played almost every Thursday for Bert his last year of his life.
Oh.
I would come down from Oxnard to his house. And
so that house in Chatsworth,
that was a different house.
Oh, not the one off of Melvin.
Yeah, that's the one off Melvin.
So that's where I lived down the street from them.
Okay.
Like a stone's throw.
Oh yeah, that was Bert's house.
Yeah, so they had that house there. I don't know if they still do, but
family. They still have it. Yeah.
And I remember being in that house. They built it because we lived in the tennis court estates right below that. If you look down from his house, you'll see homes that have tennis courts.
Right.
That's where I grew up. And somehow my dad connected with Bert. I don't remember how, but they had built the house, and my mom and dad had gone there for some sort of a party. And when they came back, they were telling us, the kids, about it. And they said, "Oh yeah, there's an elevator in that house."
Yeah.
And so it's like, for me as a kid, I was like, "Oh, an elevator in your house." Right. Yeah. So I know exactly where that was. That's interesting. So Bert was sharp, like to the
end.
Literally.
Yeah. And the funny thing of it is, his favorite song was House of the Rising Sun. So I put a book together of all of his favorite songs and things he could sing along with. So that's what we would
So
do every
cool.
week. I'd either bring my ukulele or my guitar, and every now and then Brad would come and join me, we would play and he would sing, and then he'd make up his own lyrics, which was really funny. He was really sharp.
Yeah.
But then, then after a while,
Yep.
as it goes,
Yeah, he was well into his 90s, right?
I think he was 93 or something.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So going back to Helene.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Helene runs up to you. She's like,
Oh,
"Oh
yeah,
my God,
yeah,
it's
right,
Gary."
right.
And so how did you wind up putting this thing together?
So yeah, what I was going to say was, so when we were getting married, me and Mary Lou, I asked Helene to do all the invitations, all the artwork. We called it Gary Lou Stock, kind of like Woodstock, but Gary Lou
Okay,
Stock.
yeah.
So we had it really, it was really cool. And then after she passed away, I was thinking, what am I going to do next? And I could be dating around a lot because,
Yeah, of course. You play music.
I play music.
That's
Yeah,
what
that's why I got my
girls-
guitar in the first
chicks
place.
dig music.
That's why I got the guitar when I was like 9,
Right.
And
Smart
it's
guy.
worked for me my whole life, so. But I really liked her. She was different. She was very different and so talented. But so we just got to start hanging out and playing music together. And then I was playing at the Lookout, and she's playing the Cajon, with me and Donna, my bass player. And I said, why don't you just join us? And, you play the Cajon and stuff. So, and then she never sang before ever, basically. So I started kind of training her to sing. She had no confidence at all in her singing. Because at an early age, just like Mary Lou, at an early age, people told her she sucked, and stayed with them their whole life.
Of course.
But I got Mary Lou singing really well, and not being afraid at all to sing.
Yep.
From being terrified. So kind of the same thing I was doing with Helene, and but she was a great artist, great artist. So one day, I think we got stoned, and out of nowhere, we have this idea of, what? Let's try to make art and music at the same time. She says, I'll paint with my hands and play percussion, while you're playing your classic rock.
Okay.
So we went to Home Depot and got some house paints and stuff. And we went to my apartment and just started playing around. And it was very cool. I mean, it's like my 50, 60 years in the music business, I've never seen anybody do this.
Right.
I've seen plenty of people paint to
So you got to
music.
explain. Give us paint a picture for us of what this is, because I'm trying to imagine like you put paint on your fingers and strumming and just wherever the paint
Okay,
goes.
I don't
it
have paint
is.
on my fingers while I'm strumming.
Okay.
Okay, I'm next to her. She's set up on a table with a board, and she has 2 or 3 different pieces of art she's gonna
Okay.
make. And on all these boards, there's pickups, so they're all amplified.
Okay.
So when she's hitting things, you hear it. She's keeping the beat while she's painting. She's totally ambidextrous.
Okay.
We have what you call a roll and stomp box on her right foot with boom, 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 boom. On her left foot. Right foot, she has a tambourine. So she's got these 2 things going, and she's got her easel with all different color paints. It starts from a blank board, and I'm playing Rolling on the River or Brown Eyed Girl, whatever, and singing, and she's grabbing the paints and just painting, which turns out to be beautiful pictures.
Huh.
I mean,
So it's music inspired, but then is it like the vibration causing the some differences in the way it's painted as well, or
no, vibration has nothing to do with it. It's her eyes. It's her figuring out how to mix the paint while she's painting.
Huh.
And she does every now and then she uses brushes, but we started off completely with her
just her
fingers,
hands. Huh.
with her hands, and and playing and singing too. So now she sings and plays and paints all at the same time. We just finished our 10th show for the Westlake Village Art Guild.
Okay.
That was our first show in a year ago, and now We just did it again. And I usually bring in these great other players, soloists. So I brought in a guy named Jimmy Z, who I used to manage. Jimmy Z, I met, he played with Rod Stewart, Tom Petty, Etta James, the Eurythmics. I managed him for 12 years. And he did an album with Dr. Dre. I got him signed to Ruthless. He's an incredible saxophone and harmonica player.
Okay.
One of the best in the world, harmonica players. So I call him in and he comes in. So he does the solos. I'm singing, doing the rhythm, and she's painting. And she'll work on one and then she'll move it here. Then she'll bring another one. So we'll do maybe 25, 30 songs throughout the evening, and she'll end up with 3. And we've sold probably 70% of everything we've painted.
That is pretty interesting. Where is she selling, or where are you guys selling these? Are you doing this at the Harbor, where they have the art shows?
No. We don't go out. She has an Etsy store.
Okay.
So she has an online Etsy store, or we sell them right at the gig.
Got it.
Or we have a couple of patrons that just love these things and want to buy them because they know someday we're going to be famous.
Yeah.
And they're going to be worth a lot more, later on than what, we sell them for now.
Well, you're already famous.
Yeah, so, I'm famous on a couple blocks on the road. But,
but people that know you know you to be, famous for a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I didn't know that that's what it was, because I'd seen the name but really hadn't studied what it was, and I was really curious.
Yeah, when you look at the website, and we put a couple of new videos together where they're only about a minute, but you could see all the stuff we've done, and we have a nice sizzle reel where you could see all the musicians that have played with us. We've had a lot of great musicians accompany us too.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for more shows. We're still developing, but I really feel eventually this is going to be a big act.
Yeah.
Because nobody, there's a million bands, but when you have something that nobody else does, when you're the first at something, it's different.
I'm glad you brought that up. So I'm gonna put the name of the show is called The Blueprint. So I'm gonna put this I'm gonna ask you that question in a different way, because when people see this, they see somebody that is inventive, that has reinvented themselves 100 times in their lifetime, done different things, but really at a high level, right? The things that you've done at a high level. And so here you are. How old are you today?
72.
You're 72, and it wasn't that long ago. You had this idea, and you just went and did it. If somebody, it doesn't matter your age, right? If somebody wants to do something, they have an idea, and they want to execute on that, what do you recommend they do? What are the 5 steps that they could do to execute to make something go from a thought to reality?
I'd say if you're considering joining the AmeriFund team, it's a really good idea.
We as processors at AmeriFund Home Loans support the loan officers in every aspect of the loan once it comes into processing, because we want them out there marketing themselves and originating more loans and supporting more borrowers.
Competitive commission plans are a given, and powerful technology is expected, but what truly sets us apart is our culture. We've built a solid support system for our loan officers.
If you're interested in joining the AmeriFund team, go to amerifund.com/careers.
What are the 5 steps that they could do to execute to make something go from a thought to reality?
Well, I guess first you got to get stoned.
That's where you get the idea.
That's where you get the idea. That's where we got the idea.
Yeah.
And so, you start with a thought, and then you start saying, well, how am I going to make this thought a reality? How are we going to work it out, technically? So then you got to, you got to sit down and figure out what you're going to need, the materials you're going to need, with us, the boards, paint, pickups, luckily I know so many songs that we're not going to run out of songs to play.
No.
And we don't do original stuff. We do cover stuff that everybody knows and everybody could sing along with. It's like my gigs out. I get people singing along with these songs.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah. Okay, so then you got to figure, okay, so now how do we monetize this? Because right now it's just costing us money, So we we got to get gigs. So, we start thinking about, what are the people I know already, people that will, try it out, just because they know me or they know her, because she's been in a lot of different art organizations over the years. So kind of everybody like in the Westlake Village or Agora Hills, pretty much all the art people know her and have known her for a while.
Yep.
But now with the Rhythm and Hues, she's kind of like a mini star now, because after, this is our second show. So that's the other thing. So then we start doing gigs, and then you got to always think in the future, but you got to wait till you're ready. I got friends of mine that work with the Canyon Club.
Yeah.
I used to actually, Lance Sterling, who owns the Canyon Club organization, I've worked with him before with a Beatles group I produced in Vegas. So some of the people, there's one woman, Luann Nast, worked for him for a long time. Her and her husband, Tommy Nast, have been helping us kind of like as consultants.
Okay.
Helping us along. And I know eventually, when we're ready, we'll be able, I hope, we'll be able to move into that kind of venue where we can open for a big act.
Yeah, because honestly, the Canyon Club that you're talking about here in our backyard, it's not that far from here. They have all the big artists of back in the day. They all go there. REO Speedwagon, literally. I mean, I could go through 100.
And they
of these
have
things. Like
5 different venues. It's not just the one in Agora.
Right.
They got some in one in Beverly Hills. They also do the Libby Bowl. So there's a lot of options there that hopefully in the future, we'll be able to play. We also, neither of us were big at social media other than Facebook.
Yeah.
I've got about, 3,000 or so Facebook friends, and I've got about 1,100 YouTube friends. but Instagram, TikTok, neither of us ever did much of that. So a couple months ago, we hired a company that I used when I worked with Erica Jane. So they're a big time social marketing company. So we used them for a couple of months. We couldn't afford any more, but at least it got us kind of knowing what to do, kind of how to do it. So I'm picking up where they left off.
Yeah, look, you've got to be there. I mean, honestly, you have to, and especially on TikTok, because you don't even need followers.
Yeah.
You can have something that goes viral with having, little to no followers. It's a whole different algorithm. So, with what you do and how unique it is, you need to get this stuff on video, and then you just need to push it out there because it is that unique. And I was going to ask you what the future for you holds, but I think that's it. It's taking this.
Here's the other thing, which I've been telling her from the beginning. It only takes one person to change our lives.
Yep.
I've been in this situation before. One person that sees what we're doing and can help us along, either, monetarily, help us with our production, get us gigs, an agent, exposure, whatever.
Yep.
So, if we keep doing it and keep out there, something's going to come along to help us get to the next step.
Couldn't agree with you more, Gary. And you know what? In that token, if any of our listeners or anybody watching this on YouTube right now want to get a hold of you, how can they do that?
Well, so my personal website is GaryBallen.com.
Yep.
GaryBallen.com.
Perfect.
Our Rhythm and Hues website is We Are Rhythm and Hues. That's HUES.com. Phone number 818-262-8333.
I love that.
And
just throw it right out there, Gary.
Oh yeah, I
love
don't
it.
care,
But really, your Gary Ballen website, and again, it's GaryBallen. We'll put the links below, our posts here, but that has links to everything. I think it has your contact information on it too.
It does.
And you're going to see a lot of really interesting things that Gary's done through the years, and videos and links, and I go in if you haven't seen any of these documentaries on NWA and the interviews that they had with Gary and stuff, highly recommended. You are a legend. And
well, I don't know about all that, but one quick other thing, which something funny happened the other day, is we were playing for the Westlake Village Art Guild, the Rhythm and Hues, and there's a guy there that was kind of running the art guild, and once he asked a couple questions about that, and Jimmy Z was with us also, and he said, "Oh, it's funny because I'm giving Dr. Dre art lessons right now."
Isn't that something?
I said, "Wow!" So we took a picture of me, Helene, and Jimmy, who he worked with all three of. We all worked with Dre at one time, and shot it immediately to him. And he kind of freaked out.
I bet
the three of us, which we haven't seen in years and years and years. But again, something like that.
That could be the catalyst.
That could be it.
That could
you
be
get
it.
Somebody like that, or somebody just with money that loves art and loves music and wants to be a part of something.
Yep.
That's like you, Brad.
100%. 100%. Well, Gary, man, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I really appreciate you taking the time to come in and talk.
Sure.
And we're going to try and help promote you here. So all your links, every way to reach you, we're going to put those below our post. And thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Brad.
All
My
right.
pleasure.